Yeah, fuck you. Anyways, it's I may sound crazy, but it's actually real though. That's the thing. It's only delusional if it's a delusion. It may be something that you cannot intellectually comprehend, but that doesn't make it like false, and that doesn't make it not real. Is it really does affect our reality. Oh look, it says bad quality stream. What do you mean? Oh boy, it says I'm live on YouTube. I'm not sure if I went live or not. Hey, if you talk to yourself but the NSA is always listening, does that make you crazy? If you talk to yourself and you're not sure you're streaming but you think you are, does that make you crazy? If you talk to yourself and you are streaming, but you don't realize it and you think you're streaming or whatever, it's a philosophy. It's not meant to be taken literally. It's meant to be thought about. It's a thought experiment. Alright, so I'm getting to the gallbladder, the gallstones thing really quickly. I would have liked to have gotten into gallstones like in 30 seconds or less, but I just realized the nature of the problem that I had where I couldn't start streaming immediately. I guess it didn't even happen though. Unless I hit manual start. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I am known to be wrong. I've been wrong before. It's happened. Alright, I'm gonna go and take this ashwagandha and curcumin. I gotta take curcumin too. Curcumin, that's what this stream is about, actually. And it's a perfect segue because I've got some. And so this is curcumin. I'm not sure if you can read the label here. Hey, oh, I'm getting a spam phone call. Wait, let me answer it. Oh wait, no, it's actually not spam. Good thing I don't like cuss them out, because I can't tell the difference between spam and not spam. Hello, is this a spam phone call? Oh, hey Chris, how are you doing? Sorry, I'm not able to distinguish between phone calls that are real and phone calls that are spam. I do have caller ID, but it does, like, the phone numbers that I receive calls from are, like, spoofed, so they're fake. No, I'm not sure if she's upstairs or not. Yeah, she's been gone for a while. She's, I think they're coming back soon. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll be eating later tonight, so. Okay, yeah, I'll if I see her, I'll go tell her to call. Yeah, all right. All right, bye. Did you know that you could hear the shape of a drum? And you can hear the shape of a room. And if you're in a house and all the doors are closed and a door is open and it's connected to the room that you're in, then you can hear the difference in the spectral components of the sound. If you're in a house and all the exterior doors are closed and you open a door, you can feel the temperature change. You can hear the difference in spectrum. You can hear the difference in spectrum, the spectral. You can hear the difference in the spectrum, but only in the ambient noise, or mostly in the ambient noise. So if you live in a quiet place with lots of crickets and shit, like at night, then if somebody opens a door outside to to your house, you can, if you're listening to the ambient noise, you can hear that. And you won't hear a difference in the volume, but you absolutely will hear a difference in the spectral quality of the sound. And a dog will hear that too. And a dog will, like, I've got like a theory about how dogs process scent. I don't know if it's a theory or not, but I'm pretty sure dogs like have synesthesia with their scent. So they may actually, just like a person, like a human, may be able to see things that smell or see tastes. A dog should probably also have synesthesia. It would definitely aid their survival. And except it would entangle their visual senses and their olfactory senses, their nose and their taste, and their vision, their sense of smell, their sense of taste, and their memory. So they should actually be. They may. It's a hypothetical. They may be able to see the remnants of a scent. And so when a dog is following a scent, it may actually appear to the dog's like consciousness as though the scent is a color, and they can literally follow it around in space, but their conception of where the scent is distributed in space would be determined like upon where they've moved around in that space recently. So like, yeah, it's interesting. It may not be correct. I don't even know if I would call that a theory, but it would not surprise me if, like, almost all dogs have synesthesia entangled with their sense of smell. I'm going to be right back. Okay. Anyway, so the treatment for gallstones. Gallstones are, like, I don't know all that much about them. I just discovered what my gallbladder was, like, a couple months ago because I thought curcumin was so healthy. So, if I'm live streaming and I don't call safety, can somebody come punch me? Because I'm really lonely. That would be that. Like if somebody came to my house and just punched me in the face, like I wouldn't even have to fart. That would be like socially pleasurable to me. Oh God! I should probably punch myself. Jesus, it smells. All right. Oh God. Doorknob. Oh, okay. I should probably punch myself for that. It's not getting any better either. All right. So I discovered what my gallbladder was because I took this curcumin stuff, like, and it's a curcumin extract, and I was taking it like for 2 days. I took it by the spoonful, like, and not a huge spoonful because I wasn't sure what would happen. But I was just like, I can eat as much of this. It's got to be super healthy. There can't be any reasonable limits on like what can happen to you if you take more than you should. And I was like, well, I kind of want to like, generally, like when I'm testing new supplements, I kind of want to isolate the supplements that I'm taking. So I take one or two at a time, or I'll like boost one or two and take kind of like 2 times or 3 times or 4 times the recommended dosage. I wouldn't recommend that anyone else do that. And I always get pure supplements. So like I don't get combination supplements because they don't necessarily work. And usually you'll find that the combination supplements like will have 5 or 6 different herbs, sometimes 10 different herbs, and they are all well below the active dose. So you'll get like huperzine is a good example. Huperzine, its dose is active at like 50 micrograms. But if you find it in a supplement, like a combination supplement, you'll see it like in 1 microgram dosages. At 1 microgram, huperzine is not really going to do very much. And it works pretty much the same for herbs. Like if it's a combination supplement, if it's not like very specialized, like these people have to market and they have to save money, so they'll put the supplement on the label so that they can market it as a supplement that contains the thing that the people went to the store to find. So people are like, oh no, oh no, oh no, that doesn't have it either. Oh, this has the thing that I was reading about on the internet. I don't know anything about the active dosages, but I'm going to buy it. And so when you're taking supplements, you actually kind of have to like research like what you're taking. And you have to make sure that you get well-formulated products. Otherwise, you really are wasting your money. And it's a shame because some of them are very active and are very useful. Like curcumin is very useful. It's the only thing that has reduced the long-term inflammation in my back. And it did that in 2014. It like completely dried up like all the inflammation that was like chronically trapped in my back, so that like it wasn't painful for me to sit in an office chair for long periods of time, which is kind of important if you're a programmer. Like if you're a programmer, you're just kind of expected to sit in an office chair for long periods of time, and you may or may not like become addicted to painkillers if you don't. If you feel like you need pain relief, stronger pain relief. You know, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, I found this miracle drug called curcumin, and I took it, and it helped me more than any painkiller ever had because I took it for a couple months, and my back pain, like, disappeared. It was just gone. And there's still some inflammation in there, but it's just, like, it was permanently, like, made better. It was, like, I don't know. So I didn't feel like I needed to take, painkillers like ibuprofen and like acetaminophen or anything that's like bad for your liver. Yeah, I didn't feel like I needed that anymore because I didn't have the pain. So I thought that this stuff was like a panacea, and I would just take. When I got this formulation of it, I started taking lots of it. Like right at the beginning, I was like, I can't wait to take so much of this curcumin stuff because I remember how much it helped me like with my back pain. And so I just took large amounts of it for like 2 or 3 days. And then I suffered like a gallbladder contraction. And I didn't know it was going on. I was like, oh, my liver. Oh, that's got to be my liver. And I was like, oh, wait, no, it's just right there. And so I got like a book on anatomy. And I was like, what is right there? Turns out that's your gallbladder. Started doing a little bit more research. It turns out that curcumin helps your gallbladder in a couple different ways. I think that curcumin dissolves. I think curcumin penetrates the gallbladder. It's a nonpolar chemical. I'll have to look that up in just a second, but and what does the gallbladder do? It processes things that it pre-processes and processes things that the liver can't really process. So your liver can't just process any chemical. Your liver has to have CYP enzymes. First of all, your body has to have a mechanism for processing a chemical. Otherwise, it can't process it. Usually, it pees those chemicals out. Thanks. So usually your liver processes what it can, but if your body does not have a specific mechanism for things, it will not process them, and this is why you get toxins stuck in your body. Toxins accumulate throughout your body because your body can't necessarily move it around. It can't, like, if it doesn't dissolve into water, it's not going to get back into the bloodstream too easily. If it's fat soluble, it may dissolve into the fats and then kind of become trapped there. And then as you burn the fat, like that the toxin is dissolved into, it'll slowly release like those toxins back into your bloodstream. And that's a dynamic that has like specific mechanisms that would need a little bit of research to study them, but they would mostly be nonpolar toxins or nonpolar chemicals that dissolve into your fat. So I haven't really thought about that a lot, so I'm not really sure how that would work. But the point is, your liver can't just process everything. Normally, if something is water soluble, it'll find its way into your urines, your urines. So when you go make urines in the bathroom, you may find that like toxins leave your body for free. And this is what happens with drugs like Adderall and other things. And if you're taking Adderall, and I don't necessarily recommend this, but Tums potentiates Adderall because if you have a basic like acidity to your bloodstream and specifically to your urine, then what you'll find is that like it slows down your urinary excretion of Adderall. There's like this article like how to do Adderall correctly, but it's dangerous because it actually like potentiates Adderall and makes it like 3 times stronger than it should be, which can be dangerous. And like it's amazing how like powerful the diet is, like in modulating the action of prescription drugs. So doctors are like, oh, like see, we wrote like 20 milligrams on the pill, and on the pill bottle, and that means that this is science, right? This you are putting 20 milligrams in your body every day, and that's always the same thing. Your diet and your metabolism and you know any variation and any genetic variation in the CYP enzyme distribution and any variation in the spatial distribution of CYP enzymes in your liver, none of that matters. Like, because we wrote 20 milligrams on the bottle, and that means you're getting the same amount every time. It's bullshit. Because like, and the other thing that potentiates Adderall is broccoli. I'm not even kidding. Broccoli and asparagus will make Adderall like 3 times as potent. And like why is that? The answer is that there's 3 or 4 mechanisms for getting Adderall like out of your body. One is just urinary excretion. It dissolves into your blood, and then you pee it out. Another mechanism is a CYP enzyme, and I don't remember which one because they're really confusing, and they're dangerous. These are dangerous. Like, let me just like, this is dangerous. Like, and it's dangerous in a way that you can't like unless you have a PhD or an MD. You should not touch these things, and you should really not tell people about how to play with them because, like, it's dangerous. Like, if you try to like modulate the action of drugs by using knowledge related to CYP enzymes, you're probably gonna die or you're gonna get somebody killed. It's not like drugs are safe to take, like prescription drugs and other drugs. Other recreational drugs, aren't really safe to take anyways. Prescription drugs have well-tested safety, safety data associated with them, and like well understood like dosage like requirements, well understood contraindications, and all these other things. But all of that shit is thrown out the window. Like if you start playing with CYP enzymes. Where was I going? I'm like on a major tangent after. I'm like at tangent level 5 now. I gotta work myself up the tangent stack frame. This is a stack frame, by the way. The call stack, the tangent call stack, is from programming. So you've got like all these sets of things that you're talking about, like when you establish a new conversational context, like, and you want to work your way back and unwind through all the tangents. You essentially have something from like programming language design called a stack frame. And so you've started a new tangent, you started a new tangent, you started a new tangent. And you'll find that social groups just like kind of casually elect among themselves to follow tangents that are interesting, but they don't necessarily have any like strong rules for like unwinding the tangent call stack. So the only way for you to like maintain control over that is to like as a person that people want to like socially disrupt, the only way that you can like deal with the tangent call stack in social situations and not totally lose control of the conversation if it's important for whatever reason is to like be very domineering over like a social circumstance. So I'm like when in any social circumstance people are either casually or intentionally trying to disrupt whatever it is I'm talking about. And the only way for me to counter that, and it's a behavior that I've like developed as a defense mechanism to social disruption, is to domineer social circumstances, which is that's not very like people don't necessarily like that. But anyway, I'm like, yeah, way down the tangent rabbit hole here. Tangents on tangents. How about that? How about them apples? Anyway, so see how to make it back. It is like following tangents and then working yourself back up the tangent call stack, and doing so while retaining like a general cohesion of like your conversation and of the feel of like your dialogue, making it all sound very coherent. It actually reinforces your ability to like to find natural segues between conversation topics. So it actually strengthens your ability to talk and to discuss things and to find new connections between things, because to connect like tangents back to CYP enzymes or tangents back to the gallbladder and make it and segue into that next thing while making it seem natural, that's a skill, actually. It's a skill that doesn't matter to anyone because the set of people who understand what a stack frame, a CY enzyme, and like what the gallbladder does, like the set of people who understand those three things is like there's like maybe 1 million people in the world, or like so like. And that's what leads me to being socially isolated. Like, nobody knows what I'm talking about. They just don't know. Well, I mean, if I move to a place like Blacksburg, I'm obviously not very like cinematographic, you know, or cinemagenic. I'm not very cinemagenic. I might be photogenic, but I'm not. I don't know how to direct the viewer's attention in the video space. But anyway, so what was I talking about? Gallstones. Alright, I'm going to work my way up the call stack. Gallstones, I'm just going to drop the call stack. So I'm going to just destroy the stack frame. And what happens when your computer like loses the stack frame? It means that your program crashes, and the little box appears, and it's like, "Hey, would you like to report this problem to Microsoft or Apple?" That's what happens when your computer like can't like fit the call stack into memory. And actually, not being able to fit the call stack into memory is what allows for like stack frame like execution like vulnerabilities or whatever, where you can like screw around with function calls in a program, and it might be like an in-game activity. There might be like a video game, and it might be one video game where the code was written in a way to enable stack frame execution, and so when the stack frame blows up in a video game on like the Nintendo Wii, you can do some other things and attach like some well encoded data that might be on a memory card, like so that like the stack the game console to recover from the stack frame accidentally like executes certain pieces of code, and it's a vulnerability called stack frame execution, and it was used to like crack the Nintendo Wii, for example, and there was like there's like games that are known for having certain scenarios that can enable like code execution via a via a stack frame vulnerability. Anyways, and so there's people that stay up at night and they'll work 30, 40, sometimes 400, 500 hours trying to find a stack frame execution, trying to find like a scenario in a video game that must be encoded into logic in a way that allows them to run an exploit to all to install Linux. Like, that's dedication, right? I wish those people were my friends, but I can't have friends. Especially like it's dangerous apparently for me to have friends that know what I'm talking about, which is sad. So anyway, that's the stack frame. Okay. So gallstones, what are they made of? If you knew what they were made of, all the other stuff that I was talking about like CYP enzymes and stuff would make sense. The liver cannot necessarily really process like things that have fat components to the molecule, like the molecule for cholesterol is it's got like a steroid, and it has a long chain of hydrocarbons attached to it, which makes it nonpolar. Is the point? It doesn't really dissolve in water very easily. It's not very water soluble. And actually, curcumin, I think, because of its effect on the gallbladder, because of its effect on the gallbladder and the gallbladder's function of metabolizing cholesterol, I believe would actually make a good long-term cholesterol reduction treatment. Like, I'm pretty sure if you take curcumin and you like kind of hack the gallbladder into like excreting cholesterol faster or getting rid of cholesterol faster, it might help. It might be a horrible idea depending on how high your cholesterol is. I don't really know, but I do know that it would affect the amount of cholesterol that it's like retained in your body in the long term. And I'm just kind of wandering around the topics here. I don't really have like a planned set of. I don't really have a planned I don't really have a presentation planned right now. But why is that? Like, why would the gallbladder cause the body to excrete? Why would the gallbladder cause the body to excrete cholesterol faster? And the reason is because it would as long as you don't have gallstones, it would cause the gallbladder to constrict slightly, and then it would cause like the gallbladder to force like cholesterol, like little like tiny microscopic gallstones. It would force them through the gallbladder's bile duct, and then it just really depends on what happens to the cholesterol after it exits the gallbladder's bile duct. And the reason this could be a good thing for cholesterol is because it could cause the body to excrete cholesterol faster. The reason it could be a bad thing for people who have high cholesterol is that if it provokes the body to enter a state where cholesterol levels in the blood raise, like if it pushes large amounts of cholesterol out of the bile duct, and then at some later point in the metabolization process of cholesterol, a significant portion of that cholesterol reabsorbed into the bloodstream, then you have problems for people who have high cholesterol because it would cause their cholesterol to spike. And it really just depends on like how the cholesterol is packed into your gallbladder. And what are gallstones made of? Gallstones are, unless it's a Hashimoto gallstone, gallstones are made of tightly packed crystallized cholesterol. So the cholesterol, even though it's a nonpolar substance, tends to fold and pack in a regular structure or a fairly regular structure. And this is what makes ultrasound effective, because the ultrasound, like the energy from the sound waves, finds its way into the gallstone and causes them to break, like the energy from the ultrasounds, like sound waves. Since the sound waves have a high frequency, it contains more energy. That energy moves through the body until it encounters like a dense, regularly packed structure. And like if you imagine the amount of energy that different structures in the body like absorb, the more fluid they are, like the more easily transduced the energy is. The more rigid and regularly packed the structures are, the more those like high frequency sound waves like cause energy to be absorbed into them, which is why ultrasound is effective for gallstones. It's also why ultrasound is sometimes used for kidney stones, because those are crystals. Those are crystals. They are dense. They are regularly structured, and when you expose them to when you can get a high amount of vibrational energy to be absorbed into that regular crystal structure, it breaks it apart. It's physics, basically. So if you want to cause the body to like emit or get rid of, if you want to cause the body to remove or process bile or I guess gallstones in the bile, then if you expose it to if you expose the gallbladder to ultrasound, the energy will absorb into the crystals. However, it will not necessarily break apart the crystals, which is why it's sometimes effective and sometimes not. But it depends on how the crystal structure absorbs the ultrasound. And how much energy is dissipated into different parts of the crystal structure, and it just depends. And you can't really, I don't think you can really measure that very well. You can't really predict whether or not, like, I don't think you can accurately predict whether or not a gallstone is going to be affected by ultrasound, just given like maybe an ultrasound visual of the shape of the gallstone, or given an ultrasound visual of like a kidney stone. I don't think it's very easy to be like, for a doctor to be like, I've seen a gallstone just like that. This one is going to be susceptible to ultrasound. It may be possible if you can see how many large chunks are packed together, because what happens is the gallbladder is like processing like the cholesterol, and the cholesterol, like if during your life you spend like some long periods of your life, like 2 months, 6 months, eating an extremely high cholesterol diet, that excess cholesterol will work itself into the gallbladder, and that's where you'll have like large developments of gallstones. It's from the long periods of time in your life, and these are not facts. This is my understanding of the situation, given an understanding of biophysics and physics and like biology, and so take it with a grain of salt. But if you spend so for me, I think I might have been vulnerable to gallstones, and the reason is because I spend a lot, like I wake up almost every day, and the only thing that makes me feel any better is eating eggs, and I love eggs, and I will eat like between 3 and 6 eggs every single day, and I have for like the past 4 years, past 4 or 5 or 6 years. I've eaten a lot of eggs, and I don't seem to have extremely bad cholesterol problems, but I have noticed that when I eat steak, it's bad. Like I don't eat a lot of steak. I try to stay away from it. And I try to cook my eggs on low, because if you cook your eggs, if you cook high cholesterol food very hot, it turns the high density lipoproteins, the good cholesterol, into low density lipoproteins, which are bad cholesterol. But so I think I discovered that I was like susceptible to gallstones by taking an extremely large amount of curcumin. I was like, I thought I was gonna die, and I was like deciding like, do I need to go to the emergency room or not? Like, because this really hurts. It was starting to impair my ability to move forward. It was in my vagus nerve. I was like, oh my god, like, and then I discovered, like, oh, it's my gallbladder. Okay. Oh my god, that hurts. Like, what? Ow, ow, ow! Like, and it started hurting really bad. And I was like, uh-oh. And I started Googling. I found out, oh, this might be a gallstone. What do I do? I started Googling, found out, like, it might, like, for anyone else, I would be like, you need to go to the emergency room. Like, you need to go, or you need to go to the doctor. You need to go to urgent care. You need to get in front of a physician who can, like, accurately diagnose, like, what's going on, and who's not just going to spout a bunch of mumbo jumbo and, but herbs are effective. Herbs and supplements are definitely effective. The problem is you can't really predict like what it's going to happen, and they're not very well researched because like there's limited money in herbs, and there's like limited like profit potential there because you can't patent this. You can patent some of this stuff. This one's patented actually, I think, because you can patent the extraction process, and you can and there's some things you can't protect with intellectual property regarding like supplements, but they're not well studied enough. So where were we? Let me just pull up the let me pull up the post here. Oh, this is my favorite statue, by the way. Ignore the text on the right. This statue is The Genius of Victory by Michelangelo, although it's not really clear whether it was completed in his lifetime or not. Oh, whoops. Which is why it's so awesome, right? This is The Genius of Victory. I know you couldn't see it. It looks like something maybe completely censored over here, but over here it's not. You can see that there's probably not one penis in this statue, but two. And I'm just kidding. I mean, anyway, this guy is riding the younger guy is riding the older guy to victory, and it's a symbolic statue indicating like what it takes to win in life, and it takes like transgenerational cooperation. It takes like multiple generations cooperating, and the older generation does not want to burden the younger generation with social information about the older generation's sins. So the older generation like is willing to do things to advance opportunities for younger generations, but it doesn't necessarily want those younger generations to be burdened with the consequences of having to know about how they gained like the advantages that they have in life. Because then, and this is why people like hide information about what they do. Like this is why the older generation doesn't want the younger generation to know everything about why it did what it did. It's like very similar to the reasons that like people don't ever talk about their war stories. Like, why do you not talk about your war stories? Because you don't want like any information to get out there about what you've done, or you may not know the exact consequences of your actions, and you may not understand that by simply telling a story that may be entertaining about a battle or something like this may lead like the enemy even 20 years later after the conflict to reconstruct something that had happened and then figure out like something else about something else that you didn't even know about, and then cause like consequences, or generally like cause enmity to build up. And then also you don't swap war stories because like it's generally like some war stories that I don't really know, but you don't want people to know about all the you might want people to know about all the heroic things that you did, but you may not want people to you certainly don't want people to know about all the things that you did that maybe weren't heroic or maybe were necessary but like sound really bad. And like war is a dirty like a dirty phenomenon. um, so anyway, these are things that I figure out when I'm like 33, but I'm held back by like all these things that I did throughout my entire life, that of which the consequences of which I was just completely like unaware of and kept unaware of, like while I was egged on and like apparently used as a mule, and I didn't even know what that was. But anyway, this is the genius of victory. So I'm gonna just go ahead and pull this up. I like going on tangents though. I think my tangents are entertaining, or whatever. Whatever. Of course I would though. So I'm just gonna go ahead and try to add this on here, or put this on the video to make everything else relevant. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, so it's gonna be a bad one, I think. Sorry, guys. All right, so over a period of two or 4 weeks, let's look at ultrasound treatment for gallstones, just to see what the progression is. I love talking about things. But what I love more is like having somebody else, it could be you, who is able to browbeat me and tell me that I'm wrong. Like I love that. And the reason is like, well, I either have to go back and figure out why I'm actually correct and the other person may be wrong or whatever. It's not about who's right or wrong. I mean, like, if somebody's able to correct me or provide me direction, like in terms of intellectual development, it means I get like smarter, I get stronger. Like it gives me it checks my ego. And there's just like being around other people that are a little bit smarter than you, just like 1% of the time, like it like checks your ego, like. And no matter how smart somebody is, there's always somebody who like knows something that you don't. That's easy to find. Um, like someone else may have a greater magnitude of total knowledge, but that is almost nothing compared to like the difference between the magnitude of your shared knowledge and the magnitude of knowledge that two people do not share. So the scope of what I know overlaps with the scope of what other people know. Jesus Christ, what is this webpage doing? God damn it. Fucking JavaScript. Look at my computer right now. The scope of what I know may overlap with the scope of what someone else knows. The scope of what we both know, if we're equally intelligent or if we're equally smart, would be about like, it may be twice as much as what either of us knows individually. Like, you can look at a Venn diagram. That'll be Venn diagram. Picture helps so much. So much. Okay. This is the scope of what I know. This circle. This is the circle that represents the scope of what someone else knows. Together, we may know, together, the scope of the scope of the sum of our knowledge may be twice as much, maybe at max twice as much as the scope of what either of us knows individually. That is, the area contained by both of these circles, if they do not overlap whatsoever, is maximally twice the area of one of the circles individually. But if I meet somebody whose circle is much bigger, then that means and the scope of our knowledge does not overlap very much. That means they can teach me things about, they can put me in, they can give me so many new directions to investigate, and they can help me learn, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And so when I would love to find people who don't know everything that I know about. And there's kind of a lot of them. I'm not actually that smart. I'm just really intelligent. There's a difference. And this is why I hate JavaScript. Watch what happens. Oh, here's my processes. This is what I run if you want to hack my computer, by the way. Watch this. Watch. I'm going to close this page. And I'm just gonna wait. We're gonna get a performance baseline. JavaScript ruins the internet. You just don't know it. Everybody should make their content like mine. Look at this. It's beautiful. There's 3 lines of JavaScript that run on my page. When you visit my page, the only analytics the only information that I collect, the only JavaScript that runs is Google Analytics, Discuss for comments, and a little bit of stuff that's currently broken for subglyph. This doesn't work right now, which is okay. I don't really care. No one's going to use it anyways. But otherwise, all of my content is completely static. The only thing that runs is Google Analytics. Very intentionally, there is not a Facebook like button on my content. I do not want Facebook to know that you're reading my content. And one of the from the perspective of the internet usage analyst or whatever, the major the difference between Facebook and Google from the perspective of someone who's concerned, or from the perspective of internet usage analytics, the biggest difference is that if you own content, if you own a page on Facebook, and if you own a web page, if somebody interacts with your content on Facebook, Facebook gets the data first. You don't get the data. If you get any data related to analytics about how somebody accessed your page or who accessed your page, Facebook gives it to you. So they're the man in the middle deciding who and what groups should have access to information related to analytics. Social internet usage analytics, they're being the gatekeeper. They're we're going to tell you that your page had this many hits. We're going to tell you that people spent this, and this amount of time on your page. If you buy an ad from us, we're going to tell you how many impressions it got. We're going to tell you how much time people spent looking at it. We're going to tell you the percentage of how many people looked at it, or like interact. Like we're gonna break down the interactions by like how many people looked at it, how many people like scrolled right past it. You can kind of get a feel for that. How many people clicked on your web page? How many people liked it? How many people shared it? How many people commented on it? How many people like blah 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 blah. But they're only going to give you that if you get an ad. Pages and groups don't really get all that much. Like pages get some more insights, but Facebook owns all that data. And with Google Analytics, I can tell like I've got there is some custom code in there to tell me how far you scroll down into the page, because that's one of the most important things for me as a writer. I haven't really used it. I don't have enough traffic to actually understand, but I can tell like who clicked the page, who clicked like a web page that I own, where they came from, whether they came from Reddit, whether they came from Twitter, whether they came from Facebook, and you know where they're coming from? Fucking nowhere. They're not gonna. No one's interacting with my content, as far as I know. There's also other ways to interact with my content. Like you can go to my GitHub and get every blog, like every you can clone the repository actually. It's a repository, and the reason I did that was in case in case the government wanted to kill me. Hey, what's up?
Wi-Fi password.
Okay.
I was working fine, and then when we came back, and they said I'm not connected. There's always a glitch in there, no matter what. We'll be up in 45 seconds.
I'm gonna have to take a look at it.
Okay. Because it was funny, I didn't plug in a Wi-Fi number, and I've been using it fine.
It's connected now, but I'll take a look at it. Really artistic too. I don't know. I'm trying to put all my traffic on that one because that one's like close to anyways. And then I was going to set up the house to scan the security.
So he 12 hours extension for dreamers, and the Democrats still say no. Yeah. Road chambers deal for wall. 3 years. 3 years of deportation protection. Yeah.
I think that compromise is really like
Democrats always said no.
like and I think they just want to do votes.
Yeah, well,
And then like the longer they get the issues the votes see,
yeah.
the more votes that they end up putting in.
I know, you're right.
I'll be up there in a second.
Okay.
All right, it's dinner time, so I gotta go. But yeah, you can clone this repository and read my writing if you want to circumvent all the analytics. But the difference between Google Analytics and Facebook's like analytics is that Google gives you everything. If you know how to use Google Analytics, you get everything. You get all the insights. You get the data first. The data is yours. The content is yours. It runs on your webpage. You own it because it's yours. And Facebook, it like only gives you access to what is created within their ecosystem. And then they micromanage all the dynamics of people accessing social content and accessing content socially by like manipulating amplification of like social media and trends in social media. So it's like their little like walled garden, and they manage it. And if you're lucky, they'll let you know what's going on. And of course, they do that ostensibly because they're a social product first, right? So it's a social product for them. They have to represent their users' interests and protect their users' privacy. However, if you look at the rest of the fucking internet, that's not happening. It never was. More or less. I mean, it's not as hyperbolic as that. But if you know what you're doing, you can get a lot of information out of Google Analytics. But that's the only two pieces of job. Like that's why I don't have a Facebook like button on my page, because I don't want you to like my content. I don't care. And I think that tanks my content in Facebook's view, because if you're creating like SEO, like from an SEO perspective and from the perspective of Google protecting itself from SEO hacks, and from the perspective of Facebook protecting itself from SEO and social media hacks, then if it identifies like content on the web without a like button, then that content is probably not, like that content can't be tracked as an individual piece of content as easily, and so it might just be SEO spam. So, but my website is not SEO spam, by the way. But that's how that is. I'm gonna maybe I guess this is part one. I'll try to keep. I'm gonna try to come back to this stream later, and essentially make it part two. And I'll start off from the beginning so I don't like blow the tangent stack frame. Peace, guys. I gotta go.